everyone, I'm Eric Constantino. I'm a student and I'm honored to inform you about our topic for this video, and that's about perpetuation of life in interdependence. I'm also here to help you guys in your future topic in science. You may be wondering what perpetuation of life in interdependence is about. Why is this important? How about an introduction to this topic? Well, the perpetuation of life is like a biology that also focuses on living organisms. It also focuses on sexual and asexual reproduction and other topics such as DNA, GMOs, and biotic potentials and environmental resistance. Right now, you may ask yourselves what are the differences between these two reproductions. How do we inherit the trait of our parents? Can DNA be manipulated? How does DNA allow the transfer of genetic information? What are GMOs? Do those types of questions somewhat makes you curious? Don't worry. I'm here to inform you guys about the topics and the preparation of life and interdependencies itself. Let's begin with plants. Plants can reproduce even without a partner, and that's called asexual. Cool, right? You may also be wondering what are the different ways plants can reproduce. Well, let's start with how plants do it with sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction requires DNA from two parents. The parent plants have male and female sex cells, called gametes. The genetic material from the male and female gametes combine to produce offspring is called fertilization. Flowering plants reproduce sexually through a process called pollination. The flowers contain male sex organs called stamens and female sex organs called pistils. The anther is the part of the stamen that contains pollen. This pollen needs to be moved to a part of the pistil called stigma. For asexual reproduction, it only requires one DNA from their parent. There are various asexual reproduction methods. There are fission, budding, spore formation, regeneration, vegetative propagation, and fragmentation. Now that we have already completed with how plants reproduce, let's now continue with how animals reproduce. It's same with plants is sexual and asexual reproduction. For sexual reproduction, it occurs in a variety of ways in animals. Sexual reproduction starts with the combination of a sperm and an egg in a process called fertilization. In some species, such as the fish, the male releases sperm over the eggs after the female has laid them. In other species, such as birds and most mammals, including human beings, the male releases sperm into the female reproductive tract. Some animals, such as earthworms, are hermaphroditic. They possess male and female sexual organs and can produce both sperm and eggs. For sexual reproduction in animals occurs through fission, budding, fermentation, and parthenogenesis. Now that we are done with how plants and animals reproduce, let's now take our topic a little deeper. Did you ever wonder how we look like our parents? It's because of our parents' genes or DNA. And that process is called heredity. Heredity is the transmission of genetic characters from parents to offspring. More specifically, it is the transmission of traits from one generation to the next. These traits can be physical, such as eye color, or a blood type, disease, or behavioral. Since we are talking about DNA, do you ever wonder how our DNA allows the transfer of genetic information? The majority of genes have the necessary instructions to produce the useful molecules known as proteins. Within each cell, the process from gene to protein is complex and tightly controlled. Transcription and translation are the two main procedures. Transcription and translation work together to form the process of gene expression. How does the DNA allow the production of proteins in the body? The information to produce a protein is encoded in the cell's DNA. When a protein is produced, a copy of the DNA is made and it's called mRNA. And this copy is transported to a ribosome. Ribosomes read the information in the mRNA and use that information to assemble amino acids into a protein. In order to put together the amino acids into a protein, Ribosomes use the information read from the mRNA. The ribosome that produces the protein will be free floating in the cytoplasm if it is intended to be utilized inside the cytoplasm of the cell. The protein will either be ejected from the cell or become part of the membrane if the vesicle fuses with the plasma membrane. Have you ever wondered if we can modify our DNA? Yes, we can. Genetic engineering, also known as genetic alteration, is a technique that modifies an organism's DNA using technology developed in laboratories. This may imply altering a single base pair, erasing a section of DNA, or incorporating new DNA. For example, transferring a gene from one species to an organism from a different species in genetic engineering may result in the desired trait. Genetic engineering has been used in research and industry to produce treatments for cancer, brewing yeast, genetically altered plants and animals, among other things. Do GMOs exist in our country though? Yes, it does. In the Philippines, we have golden rice, which is a breed of rice genetically engineered to combat vitamin A deficiency that has received approval from regulators in the Philippines. Golden rice is developed through genetic engineering. While ordinary rice does produce beta-carotene, it is not found in the grain. Thus, scientists use genetic engineering to add the compound to the grain, a minor tweak that improves the grain's nutritive value. The beta-carotene in golden rice, which was made possible by the addition of two new enzymes, is identical to the beta-carotene found in green leafy and yellow-colored vegetables, orange-colored fruits, and even in many vitamin supplements and food ingredients. GMO actually have a lot of benefits too, such as having a tastier food, more nutritious food, less use of pesticides, increased supply of food with reduced cost and longer shelf life, faster growing plants and animals, disease resistant plants, less food waste, and lastly, reduced costs for food and drug production. If it has some benefits, of course, there will be some risk, such as allergic reaction, toxicity, cancer, unexpected or harmful genetic changes. Although it is unknown that there are specific concerns regarding harmful effects of GMO foods on our health, we may say that it is somewhat safe to use because there are agencies that also monitor the impact to verify the GMOs on the environment are safe to use. And lastly, biotic potential is the maximum growth of a population and it's under ideal conditions. The population of living things has the capacity to grow if the environment is ideal, there is enough food available, there are no predators, and there are no diseases. An organism's rate of reproduction and the size of each litter are the primary determining factors for biotic potential. From one species to another, different creatures have different biotic potential. Many large mammals have one offspring every year or breeding season, just as humans. In contrast, insects have a huge annual reproductive rate. Therefore, compared to smaller species, large creatures have a lot lesser biotic potential. Since most species do not thrive in optimal environmental conditions, organisms typically do not reach their full biotic potential. Predators, illness, alterations in the environment, a lack of food supply, or a combination of these factors will eventually impede population expansion. Despite having a lesser biotic potential than the majority of other creatures, the human population is nonetheless rising quickly. Humans are able to grow and generate food, have disease prevention and treatment systems, and are not naturally preyed upon. On Earth, there are already 7.9 billion people, but will that number be able to increase indefinitely? Is there enough land, food, and water on the planet to support, say, 15 billion people? Only time will tell. We have a factor called environmental resistance, which can limit an organism's biotic potential. These limitations, both biotic and abiotic, limit the organism's ability to expand nonstop. Abiotic influences include things like weather, fire, and temperature, while biotic factors include things like predation, competition, parasitism, and illnesses. Environmental resistance can be seen in the dynamics of predator-prey population and water. Producers need water as a crucial resource in order to flourish. If an ecosystem producers don't expand, its consumers won't be able to survive. And predator-prey population dynamics help explain environmental resistance. For instance, we can anticipate a high prey population if the predator population is low. To wrap everything up, we have discussed some parts of perpetuation of life and interdependence, also the description and definition of reproduction of plants and animals, about DNAs, genetic engineering, its benefits and risks, and lastly, the biotic potential and environmental resistance. Just like in the introduction, I wish I answered all your questions for perpetuation of life and interdependence. And I hope it was informative that you gain more knowledge about my topic. As I end this video, I really want to say that I enjoy doing this because I also learned a lot from this topic and gave me knowledge and I did have fun. Once again, I'm Eris Constantino. Thank you for watching!